Welcome back to Ready, Set, Sold. I'm your host, Bryan Vogt. Thanks so much for joining us this Saturday, and happy St. Patty's Day. Hope you're celebrating it with a lot of fun, with friends, but also be safe. Just a different world out there. We want to make sure everybody's safe, so whatever you're doing, enjoy, but have fun at the same time. And yes, you can do that. With that said, I've been talking now, the first segment, I've been talking with Renee Wittenauer from Cecil Property Management. We talked about the fact of the matter of buying versus renting, those factors. And now we're going to get a little bit deeper into of the importance of really asking questions, and hopefully the property manager is asking maybe even more questions to you if you're looking to lease or if you're a landlord looking to lease your property out. And that's really important, the questions that not only the property manager asks, but what you ask, Renee, and I think that's probably maybe the most important thing that people should be looking for.
Yeah, definitely. I like to talk about what to look for in a property manager from the homeowner standpoint of somebody that's hiring a property manager, but also from the tenant standpoint, so somebody that's looking for a property to rent to, because you are renting from a homeowner, but you're dealing with a property manager. So both have some good questions to ask from each standpoint.
And what would be some good questions that people should expect, or they should just be asking a property manager?
Okay. So if I were a tenant going to a property, some of the things that I would look for was how quickly did you get a response? So if you inquired on a property, whether it be a website inquiry or a phone call, how quickly do you get a response to that inquiry? Use that as a good judgment to kind of see how it's going to work the rest of the way through. If it takes several days for somebody to respond to you, or you don't get a response at all, that could be some indication about how your tenancy is going to go as far as getting the feedback and the communication that you need from your landlord. What feel do you get walking into the property? So once you do get a showing and you're going there, is everything in good condition, or is maintenance still in the works, or does it just look bad and they're not willing to do anything? So definitely trust your gut and gauge. Your first impression whenever you walk into that property usually kind of helps spell out how your tenancy is going to be as well. And then for maintenance, always ask, how quickly do you guys do maintenance? How can I pay my rent? How do you guys communicate with me? Are you in your office? Do you have office hours? Pretty much everything boils down to communication. So how quickly do they execute from the very beginning through your lease process is going to tell you how they're going to execute for the rest of the way down. So at any point, if you have a property manager that's not responding to the little simple showing inquiry, they may not respond to the big maintenance issues. So those are things I would recommend looking for as far as a tenant. Now, if you're a homeowner or an investor and you're looking for a property manager, you definitely want to focus on the communication style as well. Ask them, how do they communicate? What is their preferred method of communication? If they say we do everything by email, ask them if, do you ever pick up the phone and call me? Will I ever talk to you? Just to find out how you can expect them to communicate with you, just to see if it fits your nature on what you want to do. What is their primary focus? Do they do sales and leasing? Do they do only leasing? How many properties do they manage? What types of properties do they manage? You really want to hire somebody that's an expert in property management, that's their focus, that that they're going to bat for you as a property manager 24/7. With that said, then to your property manager, do they do it by themselves or do they have a team behind them? It's really hard for one person to do everything, especially whenever there could be 24/7 maintenance, or they could have hundreds of properties or 50 properties, whatever it may be. If you have one person and you don't have a team, it might take them longer to communicate with you or communicate with the tenant. So having a expert team behind the lead property manager, to me, is huge, because it's only going to increase that level of service that they get you, and ultimately you could get multiple people for the price of one.
That's awesome. And one of the things that I think to point out that's really important, to really come back to that team concept, because it really is, and especially it's not only for someone leasing a property, but I would tend to think that on the person the landlord who is wanting to lease their property out, that becomes even that much more important. Instead of having one person that does half real estate, half leasing, half something else, that you also have a team of professionals that, look, maybe sometimes, that person is available, but somebody can pick up the slack to make sure that person's taken care of and their needs are met. And quite frankly, you're dealing in most cases with similar pricing, similar costs. They may be a little range a little bit differently, but again, having that security, I just have to think, Renee, is just a big plus that people should be looking for.
You're definitely getting more bang for your buck, as the old saying goes. And, what I can price out to manage a property for, I have 13 people on my team plus maintenance techs that are working for that price. So, and if I'm not available, you can talk to any team member and you can still get the same information. So you're not relying on that one source of information.
And I think the other thing, too, is I would imagine this comes up, too, if you're thinking about leasing, what is your track record? I mean, again, giving information, of course, most people leasing their property know they need to keep, general maintenance up. They need to keep things going in good standing. But, sometimes answering that question is well, okay, am I going to, if I go with you, is it going to be 4 months or 5 months before I get my property leased? I mean, that's something I'm sure that comes up with you, right?
Yes, absolutely. If you have somebody that's focused on the market, that knows the rental market, that is an expert property manager, you should be able to ask them, how long is it going to take to get my property rented? And be able to get a set guideline. Now, of course, nothing's a guarantee, but, you should be able to, that property manager should confidently be able to say, it's going to take me approximately 45 days. That would be my estimate. That way they can budget. I like to tell people, it's like, okay, if it's going to take me 45 days, you need to plan on not having any money, any deposits for 90 days just to be safe. Because then that helps them plan their budget and everything and really spell it out, that extra step, so they don't end up getting in a tight spot with a mortgage payment or any maintenance or anything that comes up. So having that information is super critical.
That's fantastic information, Renee. Thanks so much for sharing that with us, because, again, it doesn't have to be a guessing game when you're leasing. And the same thing, and one of the things we talk about with the book, Ready, Set, Sold, it doesn't have to be a guessing game when you're putting your house on the market. I thank, again, Renee Wittenauer from Cecil Property Management for sharing that information. I also kind of want to get into the book part, and that is getting the book. Is free. It's simple. You go to readysetsold.org, not .com, but readysetsold.org, not .com, and pick up a free copy of the book. It'll be mailed right to your house, no strings attached. Just getting information out, because the market is it's just going crazy. And you really need to maybe still have that information to make sure that you're going to get top dollar. Absolutely free. With that said, we're going to be talking in the next segment about the housing market and going a little bit more deeper in making sure you get top dollar and a fast sale. Even in hot markets, you want to make sure that you maximize your profits. You're listening to Ready, Set, Sold. I'm your host, Bryan Vogt. We'll see you in a few.